r/AskReddit people of Reddit. What did your teacher do years back that still annoys you today when you think about it? My geometry teacher marked some of my answers wrong because I wrote with a pen. The answers were right though. Still makes me livid. In 4th grade we held a canned food drive. The class that produced the most donations was to be awarded a pizza party. After class all of my classmates got together and discussed that we really wanted a day off and a pizza party. So, of course, we did our best and had the most donations. The pizza party never came. And when we asked about it, our teacher would shrug it off and tell us that oh, it will come, just be patient. It never came. Still mad. Fuck you, Mrs. B. Sorry for any possible bad English. In 2nd grade, our class went through something relatable. I don't remember the exact details, but we were given a green card whenever we did something good, like helping someone else or whatever. If you had a certain amount of cards by the end of a certain period of time, you'd get a sticker. Our teacher promised us that if someone got like 5 stickers, we would be having a day on which we would just play all sorts of games all day long. So yeah, eventually someone got the required amount of stickers and our teacher again confirmed that we would be having this fun day soon. As you can probably imagine by now, she never fulfilled her promise, even though we reminded her constantly. Our school had this yearly event that lasted an entire day where every student from our school had to follow a couple of workshops. When that day came, our teacher just said that this was that supposed fun day we would only play games that she promised we would be having. Even though we didn't even got to play any games, the workshops weren't just for our class, and it had nothing to do with the fact that someone from our class managed to get 5 stickers. 1st grade, we were talking about clouds, which for some reason I was really excited about. Teacher asked a question about a picture of a cloud, and in my excitement I answered without raising my hand. She made me hold my hand up for the rest of the class. I remember the pain from holding it up. To make matters worse, when someone would raise their hand she would look directly at me and say thank you, name, for raising your hand. I didn't participate or talk in class for the rest of the year. I had something similar happen in kindergarten. We had a substitute teacher and she was a real bitch. My classmate was being rude, so she made him stand up in front of class and hold his hands above his head. I made the mistake of mocking him and got caught. I had to join him in standing with my arms up. I got out of it luckily when my speech teacher pulled me out of class for my weekly session. I had a teacher like that in calculus my senior year. Every day he'd put up the numbers for the previous night's homework and people would pick a number and put up their solution for some of the homework credit, and then we'd discuss them. Well, me and 2 other guys really didn't like this class and usually just tuned out since everyone's in senioritis mode already anyway. Well, about a month into the class 2 of us happened to go up and show our work for once, which this football coach of math teacher saw and said, well, look who finally decided to participate. Obviously conversations got interrupted and all eyes were on us for a few seconds. Guess who never dared participate again in that class? When I was in primary 5, around 9 years old, I walked into morning assembly late. Bit of a backstory, I didn't have the best upbringing and my mum was on drugs at the time. Nobody ever woke me up for school or made me breakfast etc. I tried to set an alarm, but at that time mobiles weren't a thing and our alarm clock was in my parents' bedroom and sometimes they would turn it off during the night before it went off in the morning, so I would end up sleeping in late. Anyway, when I finally got to school about 10 over 15 minutes late, the head teacher pulled me up in front of the full assembly and said something along the lines of my name, late again, always has to be the center of attention. Do we all think my name should just go and sit outside while we enjoy our morning assembly without interruption from ignorant little girls? I was so embarrassed and felt helpless. Nobody ever bothered to ask me why I turned up late or couldn't focus because I was hungry. I've had imaginary arguments with her in my head many times as an adult, wishing I could make her see how worthless she made me feel. As a teacher, this makes me so sick. I work in a school where a lot of my families are low income, homeless, and many have parents addicted to drugs. These kids are kids, and while it pisses me off that the parents could choose drugs over children, or that some parents are just too lazy to parent, the child never asked for that. My school serves breakfast in the morning and I always make sure I save some for children like you who come from these homes and often come in late, but will still need a meal to start the day. I'll let them sit somewhere comfy while they finish their breakfast and then have them start the day. I also never yell or embarrass them for not having their homework done, because I know it isn't a priority for all parents to be sure their children are doing this, and that some students go home to really terrible things and homework is the last thing on their minds. I allow my students time to complete their homework in the mornings before I check, so that there isn't embarrassment or anything. All students must be treated equitably, and it wouldn't be fair to excuse no homework, but there's nothing wrong with letting them do it in a safe space at school. He told me that he wouldn't let me take his class because I wasn't up to his standard. It was a final year maths class in high school that was compulsory for the university courses I was applying for. I went to my advisors and they fixed it up and let me do the subject, but it pissed me off that he wouldn't even let me attempt it. And not for a lack of knowledge, but because I wasn't up to his standards. Same thing happened to me, but I was never allowed in and never got in. Now taking pre-calc in college. I have a great disdain for most teachers. I was told I couldn't take advanced English, AP English here, my senior year because I couldn't handle it. So I took the regular British literature course, held a 110 average the entire year, highest grade in my entire class, and slept through most of it. I even aced quizzes and tests without reading the content. Just basic guesses, or watch the movie version instead. I wish I'd been allowed to take harder classes in high school that actively forced me to apply myself. Maybe I wouldn't be quite so lazy nowadays. I was in year 5 and a girl legitimately tortured me, bending my arms in ways they aren't supposed to, smacking the crap out of my hands with a ruler, stomping on my feet. When I went to the teacher and told her, she just said, well, she has problems so just forgive her. Boy, do you think I care if she has issues or not? Edit. I'm now in year 10, so 5 years ago, and I still get triggered when I'm reminded of it. In Italian class with a substitute teacher. Couldn't think of a word in Italian or English, so I turned to my friend who spoke a mutual third language and asked her. Teacher calls me out, saying if I don't know a word, to look it up in my language dictionary. I explained I don't know the word in English or Italian. She replies, word for word. If you don't know it in English or Italian, it's not a real word. I'm still just so bothered by that. As if I can't recall a word in a single moment, it ceases to exist for the rest of the universe. I sneezed and my teacher made me stand up for the rest of the class, then gave me a detention at the end for disrupting the class and time wasting, because I hadn't done any work. I wasn't a troublemaker, I never tried to disrupt anything. I just sneezed. When she ordered me to stand up, there were a few audible gasps but she didn't do anything, which was met with a hissing quiet from my teacher. Considering I was bullied by the majority of my classmates, their reaction shocked me. I stood and cried for the entire lesson. No idea to this day what her problem was. I guess she was in a bad mood and took it out on the first student to break the silence. I was 11. I had no backbone whatsoever, so I took the detention and stayed behind at the end of school to do my lines. That was my first and only detention. I'm 38 and I've never forgotten that. She's dead now, so fuck it, shrugs. My E12 coordinator fucked up the timetable at the start of the year and 2 of my subjects overlapped. This was second year of those electives and final year of high school. Rather than fix her mistake, she told me I had to drop one of the subjects, meaning I was now studying the minimum amount of units, which was never recommended and killed my grades overall when it came to final exams. When I was in 4th grade, my math teacher called me pathetic and made me rewrite my entire notebook because my zeros were upside down. I started them from the bottom. Fuck you, Mrs. Ilges, I hope you're dead, you stinky bitch. In high school, 3rd year chemistry, we were 6 months out from exams when our teacher, who was also the deputy principal, got called away and couldn't finish teaching the class. In comes the substitute. Other than bring a no-nonsense kind of man who was a bit gruff, he had to explain to us in the second lesson we held that he was grateful we were a great and engaging class. However, all the formulas we had learned in chemistry were completely wrong. Yet, for almost 10 months we had been taught wrong, and here I thought I actually understood science in one way. I had a teacher who made us highlight almost every word in our course material with a yellow highlighter, except the articles, prepositions, and conjunctions. Half of his lessons were just him dictating what we were supposed to highlight. If someone refused to do it, because, you know, it's annoying to read and study texts that are almost entirely fluorescent yellow, he would take the handouts from them and rip them to pieces. Because I made these materials, so I decide what you do with them. In first grade, just a few days after the first day of school, we got a paper with different phrases on it, and we had to draw a picture to each phrase. As a kid I was kinda artistically talented, because I loved drawing, and drew some pretty nice pictures. As I was nearly finished, a boy opposite of my table just snatched my paper and swapped it with his own ugly ass drawings, because he liked mine better. I was upset and tried to get it back, but as soon as I stood up the teacher shouted at me to sit down and be quiet. She didn't even let me try to explain to her what happened. That's when I began hating school. I even cried when I was at home. But thankfully after first grade we moved to another town anyway, and I went to a new school with lovely teachers and really nice classmates. But I still think about that awful teacher. I really think she hated children, which is just a shame for her to teach innocent little kids who don't know it better. My 10th grade principal in high school once told me, while I was waiting for a guidance appointment and bawling my eyes out, that if I didn't go back to class, she'd call an ambulance and have me escorted to the hospital for a psych eval.